What's up, y'all? It's Celeste. As you can probably tell by the title, this is a mental health update. And I want to give a little bit of background actually on my mental health because I really haven't talked about it too much on here. I've talked a little bit about different aspects of anxiety and depression and things like that, but I haven't really talked about like my overall experience and my overall diagnoses and all of that stuff. So I'm going to try not to go into too much detail here, but basically I've been in mental health treatment off and on of various types since I was in first grade. So the first several years, it was basically just seen as like emotional issues or behavioral problems or things like that, which in my opinion was basically just adults pathologizing my personality. But that's a topic for another video. The first actual diagnosis that I got was depression when I was 12, and I was hospitalized, yeah, I said that right, for a month in inpatient. And after that, I basically just had a lot of depression, and eventually, like around the time, shortly after I graduated college, got diagnosed with anxiety as well. And things just kind of weren't that great for a while. And finally, about almost 5 years ago, I got diagnosed with dysthymia and major depression. So basically, sometimes called double depression, and also anxiety of a type not otherwise specified. And so that's pretty much what I've been been treated for the last several years, and very successfully for the first time in my life. I actually had really good treatment. I have had good medication. I've had really good therapy. Things are great, and I'm doing really well. But I've still been having a lot of trouble with concentration and focus and all these other things. And one thing that I kind of skipped when I was giving my history there was some of the other diagnoses that I got that later got kind of undiagnosed, or basically just seemed like they were misdiagnosed. Some of which were misdiagnosed and were not really things that I have, or things, not even necessarily actual diagnoses, but like things that were kind of like brought up as possibilities. Most of those didn't seem to really match up, so that's why they were kind of cast aside. But one thing that I was actually diagnosed with by a few different people was ADHD, or at that time it was sometimes called ADD. And the reason that diagnosis didn't stick was because I tried a bunch of different medications at that time. I tried a lot of the very like common mainstream ones at the time and some other ones, and none of them seemed to really help me very much. They kind of just increased my anxiety, and I still was kind of all messed up. Really at that time in my life, things were so messed up for me that it kind of, like, if any of those medications did help my concentration, it kind of didn't matter because I was such a mess then anyway that like I didn't really have, that alone wouldn't have been enough to help me be more productive and be more functional in the ways that I wanted to be functional and all that sort of thing. So I think that's kind of what happened. At the time, I kind of just eventually decided, well, maybe I don't actually have ADHD. Maybe I just have really bad anxiety, and the anxiety is what's making me not be able to concentrate and not be able to focus because I'm so kind of on edge and so easily distracted by things because of anxiety. Which kind of made sense. And so that's kind of what I went with for a while. But the last couple years, after I started getting successfully treated for my dysthymia, depression, and anxiety, and at this point, definitely consider my depression and dysthymia to be in remission. They're not cured or anything, but they're not really things that I really are a problem for me. I mean, I have mood dips like anybody does, but I don't have depression like I used to, like by any means. I don't have anything close to that. I was not in good shape before. And my anxiety, which I, like I said, have talked about a decent amount on here, has manifested in a bunch of different ways. And over the last, let's see, almost a year, I would say maybe how long has it been? Maybe 9 or 10 months. I've been back in therapy, and I've really been dealing with a lot of the triggers and kind of core beliefs and things that were contributing heavily to my social anxiety and just different aspects of my anxiety. And I feel like that has gotten a lot better as well. I'm still probably more anxious than a completely non-anxious person or a person that doesn't really have anxiety. But I'm definitely still kind of on a trajectory of dealing with all of that. So as that's been happening, and things are going really well for me, and I have like a lot of different good things in my life that I've been able to handle, and like my emotional resilience is like so much better now than it used to be, and just things are really good, but I'm still having so much trouble concentrating, especially with work, but also with other things, just my ability to kind of tune things out, or I don't know, just kind of all different things related to concentration, and the way that my mind works and my ability to kind of process things in conversation with people and stuff like that has still been a really big problem for me, and has really been an impediment to my progress and like being able to handle more work and things like that in a way that felt like it needed to be addressed. So I went back to my psychiatrist and I talked to him about it, and he agreed that that sounded likely. And also my therapist, I talked to her as well, and she was like, yeah, that pretty much sounds like you have ADHD. She didn't actually diagnose me, but so my psychiatrist put me on a medication called Adzenys, and this video is not sponsored. This is just me telling my experience. And he originally was going to put me on Vyvanse, but my insurance doesn't cover that, and the amount that I would have had to pay in copay, like even after the manufacturer coupon stuff, was like $235 a month, so no. So instead he put me on Adzenys, which that's still fairly expensive because that's also not covered by my insurance, but it's like $50 a month, which is still pretty expensive for a medication, but not $235. So anyway, I decided to try it, and it's made such a huge difference for me that just like, it's not like I started taking it and like magically everything was better. But it kind of was like that, to a little bit of a degree. With work, which is the main, like the kind of benchmark by which I really, wanted to measure this and needed to measure this. I've still had trouble kind of getting myself into work mode and not procrastinating and things like that. But once I get myself into work mode, I am able to actually concentrate and actually do work for like stretches of time that I was not able to do before. And before, it was not just a matter of self-discipline or a matter of like getting rid of distractions. Like I would do those things. I have programs on my computer that like block websites that I shouldn't be going to, and like distractions and things like that, and would basically just kind of like put myself in a situation where like I couldn't really do anything other than work, and yet I still would just stare at the screen and would just look at things, and my brain could just not process them and could just not like comprehend what I was looking at in a way that really allowed me to do the things that I needed to do in any kind of timely fashion. Like I obviously eventually got the work done. That's why I still have the job. But everything was taking me forever. It was, everything that I did felt like a huge struggle. Things that should not have felt like a struggle. It's just been, everything has just felt so difficult and so slow and just all those kinds of things. And once I started the medication, like the first time that I tried to work after that, like I just worked and I just wrote a bunch of stuff, and it was really amazing. It was definitely like a huge, very obvious switch in my brain had happened. And like even now, doing this video, I don't know if you've noticed that there are probably a lot fewer cuts in this video than there usually are, and that's because my brain just works better now. I'm able to actually process my thoughts in some kind of order, and like, I don't know, it's completely different. But like I said, it's not like it magically fixed everything. I still have a lot of difficulties, which I think a lot of those are more of habits as opposed to my actual brain function. And those are habits that I have developed over time by the fact that I was not able to do work very well and I was not able to concentrate, and I'm so used to procrastinating everything because I just had to, because I couldn't pay attention, and I'm just so used to things taking forever, and I'm used to, like, I don't know, just kind of all these different things. And so that's taking some time and taking some adjustment and taking some experimentation and things like that. So I still am not where I want to be, but I feel like I am definitely on the right track, and the medication has helped so much. So I apparently have ADHD after all, and it turned out that some combination of either the medications that I tried before weren't effective for me, which is not uncommon. There are so many ADHD medications and so many psychiatric medications in general for all kinds of different things that they're treating, that it often takes a lot of experimentation and a lot of combinations of things and all that sort of thing. For example, that's what happened with my depression and dysthymia. I tried all kinds of different medications before the one that I'm on now that actually helped me. Like I said, I've been in treatment for a long time. The first medication I was on for depression was when I was in 6th grade, and I am now 37. And this medication that I'm on, which is Lamictal, was first prescribed to me in 2014. So I went a long time where I was trying all kinds of different antidepressants and different medications that were supposed to help with depression, and they didn't, and it was very frustrating. So sometimes it just takes a lot of experimentation and a lot of trial and error, and also just finding the right person who is able to kind of think outside the box, or just has the experience of knowing maybe this medication is something we should try, even though it's not necessarily usually used for that. Like Lamictal isn't usually used for dysthymia and depression. It's more commonly used for bipolar, but can be helpful for treatment-resistant depression. Anyway, this video isn't supposed to be about depression. My point is just that maybe I just wasn't on the right medications before. And then also, like I was saying, all the other aspects of my life, all the other factors in my life, and my other factors of my mental health, and just my entire life at that point was very different. So anyway, I apparently do have ADHD, and this medication is really helping me a lot. And I'm really happy about that. I'm very, very excited about it, and feeling very optimistic. Very similar to how I felt when I first started Lamictal and it was seemingly helping. That took me also a few years to still work my way out of the depression, and like had to go through a lot of therapy and a lot of self-reflection and work. It was a lot of work, but I did it. And when I first started, I felt very optimistic for the first time in a long time. And that's how I feel about this with my work. I feel like I'm doing a lot better. So I actually told my boss that I have ADHD because when I first started the medication, I was in the middle of a project. And so for the first part of the project, I was not on medication. And then, like I said, even once I got on the medication, it's still taking me a lot of adjustment and stuff. So that project was taking me a long time to do. And he expressed that to me and was basically like, well, what's going on here? Why is this taking so long? And so I decided to just tell him the truth. And it turns out that he's been really supportive, and I'm really grateful about that. It just overall has been really good. It's still been very scary, and I still worry a lot about it, and worry that I'm still not good enough, that I'm still not fast enough, and all these things. But it's really helped to have his support, and so I'm very happy and grateful about that. And I've noticed an improvement in a lot of other areas too, like just my ability to kind of hone in on particular sensations or like sensory input, as opposed to all of it kind of competing for my attention simultaneously, especially with sound. Before, I had so much trouble, like if somebody was talking to me but there was a lot of other stuff going on in the background, it's been so difficult for me to focus on what that person is saying, especially if the other stuff in the background is also conversation or any kind of like verbal, like word kind of stuff. Like if I'm at a restaurant and the person across from me is talking to me, but then the person next to me is talking to the person across from them, and I hear that going on at the same time, it's so distracting. It's so difficult for me. And it's like, pretty much physically painful trying to force my brain to like tune certain things out, and it's just been really hard for me. And don't think I've actually been to any restaurants like that recently. I haven't really been in any restaurant situations yet, so I haven't tested that. But I've been in a few other situations that I've had similar trouble with, where I've just had a hard time kind of focusing on one thing in front of me when there's other stuff going on. And it's been so much better. And that's not even something, like if I had really thought about it, I would have maybe expected that, but that's not something that I was thinking about. So when it happened, I was like, whoa, that was really a different experience than what I've been dealing with up to this point. So just a lot of things like that. I feel less anxious. Also, like I said, I felt like my anxiety had gotten a lot better already, but this has helped even more. And I think that's because I previously had to work so hard to focus and had to work so hard to try to manage all of the stuff going on, all of the input, that just kind of put me constantly on edge, because I felt like there was so much, just so much going on that like I could never turn anything off, that I couldn't just like relax and just experience one thing at a time. So it's really helped kind of relax me a little bit and help me not feel as anxious with other people in like social situations. My social anxiety was somewhat the kind of social anxiety you would expect, where it's like you're insecure and you don't know if they're going to like you and stuff like that. But a lot of it was from just feeling anxious, and then feeling anxious about feeling anxious, because I could feel that I was tense, and I could feel how the tension affected my ability to communicate and my ability to connect with people and my ability to process everything. And those are the things that I felt the most anxious about. So now that those have gotten so much better, I feel a lot less anxious. I feel like more confident. I just feel like more capable and just like so much better. And everything is just so much better now. So like I said, it's not like perfect. It's not like my entire world is like completely flawless now or anything, or that I don't have any issues still with anxiety or anything like that, or concentration. But it is a million times better, and I'm very, very happy about that. And yeah, so I wanted to give an update because this is really a pretty big thing for me and big thing in my life. And even though this isn't something that probably most of you were aware of, or like, it's not like this resolves anything for you, because you probably just didn't like, you don't have the experience that I have of like how I move through the world and how I go through life and everything, obviously. But it is something important to me, and it's something that I feel like is making a big difference for me. So did want to share it with you, as I try to do with all the important things in my life. And obviously, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in that old comment section below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my future content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.